Hello and welcome to Survivor Social. My name is David and I am here joined by the incomparable Tegwith. So happy to be back, and most importantly today we have, if everyone can hear me, we have the one, the only, the winner of Survivor China, Todd Herzog.
Woo!
We can hear you. Can you hear us, Todd?
Uh-oh.
Oh no. Technical difficulties are happening from here in Utah. It is A-okay.
I'm so excited. So while Todd is leaving and joining back in, I'm just so excited to get to talk to him about this episode. One thing about me is my first season of Survivor was Survivor China. I didn't watch it live. I was told to watch it because it's such an amazing season. And his win, like, that was it for me. Like, I was like, I'm in. I'm good. Like, this is my obsession now. So Todd, I blame for this obsession because, like, what an amazing game, amazing win. What a great cast. What a great season. So, like, getting to talk to him is going to be so much fun.
I agree. It's going to be a blast. Survivor China has been my favorite season for a very, very long time, and I'm hard-pressed to find anybody who doesn't at least have it in their top 10, I don't know, somewhere up there. So.
I know.
All right, Todd.
Hello?
Here we are.
Did it work?
Yes. What a great way to build the anticipation. I'm sure everyone is just at the edge of their seats ready to hear from you.
I was like, it like did the countdown and I was like all excited, and then it went live and I see you guys doing this and talking and I'm like, I can't hear anything. Hi.
That was actually a Survivor Challenge. You passed. Congratulations.
Well, hello everybody.
Welcome. So Todd, how are you? Where are you? What's going on in Toddland?
Thank you. I'm super excited to be here. Okay, let's see. I am in Utah. I'm currently in my office at my desk in Utah where I work. And so, yeah, life is great. I mean, I'm just living the best life I can out here, you know.
I love that. And is Survivor 44 part of what you would consider living your best life?
Survivor 44 is very enjoyable. So every Wednesday night, my family and I, we get together and we watch. So it's fun to like get together with the siblings. It's an excuse to like spend time with family. So yes, and I like this season. The cast is really good. I do feel like they've got some really amazing people on this season. So yes,
absolutely. I am so excited to dig into it with you. And before we start, make sure to subscribe to Survivor Now on YouTube and Spotify. If you have any of your hot takes that you want to share with us, please be sure to email us at survivorsocialpod@gmail.com and we will answer them right here. And of course, because we have our guest Todd, we have a plethora of questions that are prepared. And I want to start us off with a great question if you're ready, Todd.
I'm ready. Let's do it.
Wonderful. We have a question from Matt Namite, and he asks, can you ask Todd, what is the best Funko Pop that you've ever made?
Oh my gosh. This is a question that people ask me a lot. And so it changes because I'll make one that I fall in love with and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so fun. And then I'll make another one and I'm like, oh my gosh, I absolutely love this. But usually I'll have to go back to my very first ones were like the Spice Girls. So I made the Spice Girls. They're probably my favorite. That's what started the whole business, Todd's Pop Shop, in the first place, was I collect Funko Pops. I wanted the Spice Girls, and Funko didn't make them, so I did. And the rest is history.
That's amazing.
I love that. Taking it into your own hands. I will say that Sphinx one that you made recently, I kind of am obsessed with.
Thank you. I love it too. I do love that one. That's
so good. It's so good. Not Survivor related, but just art. Art is great.
Seriously. And one more question before we jump into all the goodness of Survivor 44. Matt P. Clark asks, which player from this season and from past seasons would you say has a similar game style or a gameplay style to you? Is there anyone you feel like is giving shades of Todd?
From this season, yes. Carson kind of is, which is like, so, okay. I'm watching this season. I like Carson as a person. I think he's a great person. He's playing the game in a strategic way, and he loves to brag about it. And I feel like I was very similar in that sense. And so, but I didn't realize that I was like that because I get really irritated by the bragging about it. And I'm like, wow, people really must have been irritated by me as well. So that it's like a story that just tumbles down. I like Carson. I think he's playing a strategic game that is similar to the game that I played. If you look at past contestants, I honestly, I feel like, you know, there's bits and pieces of random people here and there, like Kim Spalding. Her final tribal council speech was very similar to mine. But she also, you know, played a very good social game. So yeah, like that. Like I based my game kind of like Rob Sesternino. So it's like when you go play the game, you base it off of people from the past, but you also put your own twist to it. So it's kind of hard to say if anybody played the exact same type of game, because I'm sure that, you know, they probably wouldn't like to hear that you stole their game. Anyway.
There will never be another Todd. Case closed.
Yeah.
Of course. So let's get into this episode. What an episode it was. Jam Jam could have possibly been taken out, and he is, you know, masking with humor to sort of deflect the fact that he was a target. What is it like getting back from a super tense vote, Todd? And how do you try and deflect or dissolve that tension?
I was pretty cocky, to be completely honest. So whenever we got back and anybody was like boo-hoo, I didn't have sympathy. I didn't feel bad for them. I was like, sorry, like, cry about it. But it is awkward. Like, you get around these people and you're like, yeah, so that happened, and you just kind of have to just move on. I guess like my biggest thing was don't look back, because if I look back, I'm going to just sit there thinking woulda, coulda, shoulda. What if I did this? What if I did that? But it's like, there's no point in doing that because you can't change it.
Good life advice as well.
Huh?
Good life advice as well, right there.
Yeah, exactly. Because like, what if
going
you sit around and mope about things that you did in the past? Meh, it's not worth it.
Absolutely. You gotta put the pedal to the metal, put that va va voom, and it's not just because their merge tribe is va va. What do you make of that? Is that just ridiculous, or do we kind of love it?
I love it. I think it's wonderful because, I mean, first, Jam Jam is hilarious. Like, he's like, what about va va? You know, like, he's just hilarious. Va means 4, so what if we just did va va?
So good.
And yeah, I mean, everything he says is iconic, just based on the way he says it, the intonation, everything. And I love that about him. And so they're discussing everything, the last vote, and they notice Matt isn't there. And guess where he is? Walking with Franny. What is your take on the Franny and Matt showmance?
Okay, so a showmance is like never a really good idea. I mean, it only worked out once in Survivor history, where like 1 and 2 were, you know, they're married now.
Yeah.
However, we learned in episode 1 that Matt was like heartbroken and like dealing with other relationship things in his past. So maybe instead of winning Survivor, this was the path that he was supposed to go down. You know, like Jamie and Eric from my season are married, and they didn't win Survivor, but they won at
That's a very optimistic and wholesome way to look at it. And, you know, I don't think that after his elimination this past episode, Matt was probably thinking about it that way. But I think that's definitely a good way to look at it in the grand scheme. So, yes, Matt is finally able to vote now. He is able to spread his wings, and obviously it doesn't really work out for him. But it is exciting to be in a time where you went from not being able to vote to finally being able to vote. But what are your thoughts on the whole, this is the new era of Survivor, you might not even be able to vote? The only power you have in the game might be taken away from you.
Oh my goodness. So like, again, okay. So Survivor, yes, they have to evolve. They have to come up with new ideas and twists. You know, it's just one of those things where you cannot do the same format because it probably still wouldn't be around. I know that diehard fans will want to kill me for that. However, we would probably have gotten bored because it was the same thing every season over and over and over again. It wasn't, because they kept changing things and we had something to complain about, right? And that's why we have podcasts and why we have message boards, is so that everybody can get together and complain about what they don't like. So, with that being said, the whole losing your vote thing, you know, that's his fault because he had the choice to take the advantage or not. And he did it, and he risked it again. He lost 2 votes. And then they got together at the merge, and then, you know, this whole situation where it was like half and half, but only 4 people can be up to be eliminated. That is a tricky situation, because what that does take away from the game of Survivor, the one thing that I really, really hate that's been taken away from Survivor, is the fact that these people rely a lot on luck. It is not outwit, outplay, outlast, outluck. You know, so I don't think that twists should necessarily involve a ton of luck in the game of Survivor. But that's kind of what it's become. So that does bother me a little bit. But if you are doing the rest of that, if you are outwitting and outplaying the others, that means your connections are going to be good enough where you don't need the luck. And unfortunately, Matt just didn't have it.
Yeah. And on that, I want to talk about the luck thing really quickly, because one thing I've noticed a lot is, you know, back in old school Survivor, they would do a lot of schoolyard picks. They would do a lot of things where the competitors had kind of a little bit of more, they could make more decisions, right? And like they would do those chopping challenges, the chopping challenges to kind of show the social hierarchy. You know what I mean? And I love those because it's very like, you know, Survivor's a social game. That's what we talk about, you know, the social aspect of it. And even in the challenge where you draw rocks, I kind of would have loved to see like drawing rocks is all luck, you know. Your team, that's lucky that you were on Franny's team. That's luck right there, you know. And if they had more of a schoolyard pick, and then one person was left out, and then you think that one person's maybe just not going to play, but then they can actually choose, you know, that gives the players a little bit more agency in the game, right? It's not just, let's just grab a rock and see where we fall. There is some social strategy here. There's some strategy in play. And there are like little tweaks that I think could have made a twist that I really hated to a twist that I just disliked, you know?
Yeah. See, I completely agree with that, because when it is the schoolyard pick, or I loved when they would do the ones you were talking about where they were chopping down their, you know, everybody else's dolls or whatever, because it did basically expose your allegiance and your alliance. And so if you were smart in that situation, you would be doing it strategically. So like that, I do miss a lot, because it really did make the whole game flip and flop on its own without a twist.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And if this episode showed anything, it was the extent to which the producers were willing to manufacture as many things as they possibly could to get the desired outcome. I mean, if the whole 2.0 birdcage twist was any implication of how willing they were to meddle in what was going on, then I don't know what it is, but we'll get to that. So here we are, challenge time. Stand on a narrow beam and bounce a ball, all that good stuff. But wait, there's more, because there's always more. We're going to divide the participants into 2 teams, which my first thought was, there are 11 people here. Couldn't this have just waited until the next episode? Why did Carson have to automatically, be the one who drew the rack and to choose and the,
Great point.
If I was a casual viewer, let's say I'd never ever seen Survivor before and I just flip onto this channel and I see this mess, I am literally skipping to the next episode or the next channel because this is complicated as hell.
Yeah.
For what? For what?
It was very complicated. There was so much that happened in it. I feel like they should have made this episode the 90-minute episode.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe try to explain it a little bit. Maybe have it going, because then we get to talking about Matt and not having his bag. And it was just like so much information where people were like, wait, he doesn't have his bag. Why does he need his bag? What's so important about the bag? And it was so much focus on this damn bag that I was like, why are we talking about the bag?
Yeah.
The
bag was huge.
Yeah.
I like the editing on the bag, though. The bag editing I loved, where he was just yelling, "Get my bag." That was kind of cute.
That was awesome. I loved that. I won't lie.
Yeah, the way they told the story was very entertaining. The story itself, I'm not sure I wanted to read, but anyway. So we're divided into 2 teams of 5. Carson has to pick a team, and whichever team that loses or wins, he goes with whatever team he chooses. And so the player that lasts the longest on each team wins immunity, and they win immunity for their entire group. But on the flip side, if you're the longest person on the opposite team, even if you lose, you still win individual immunity. So a total of 6 people were immune. Is that correct? 6 people? Crazy amount. Mm-hmm. Especially after the merge.
No, 6, you're right, sorry.
Yeah. No, that was it takes away a whole ton of gameplay right there just by having 6 people immune and 4 people that are not. I don't know. That part does bug me. I won't lie. The idea was there, but I don't feel like it completely finished going through all of the pre-planning. You know what I mean?
Definitely. And believe me, I understand that the producers have some grudge against the merge, but they've merged. Let them just have a regular merge vote. How hard is it? Just let everybody have a vote. Let everyone be eligible to be voted for except the person who has individual immunity. They just have something against wanting a regular normal merge vote to happen.
Or just give 2 people immunity. They could do that, and then they could even do the birdcage twist with 2 people immune. And not have it so much extra,
I don't even see. Why was this not a pre-merge thing with the tribes?
Exactly. That's what I thought.
I think so. One of the things that I do love about Australian Survivor, Todd, I don't know if you watch Australian Survivor, but they do these really good team things that aren't a race. They're a challenge where you have to hold on a long time and the last person to hold on wins it for their whole tribe. Yes. And I kind of think that this is a perfect example of that kind of thing. And it just should have been 3 episodes earlier rather than right now, because 4 people without immunity, and even the last person on the tribe to wins immunity if you go to tribal council, you could have even done literally copy and paste and I would have been a-okay with that. But
I agree with you completely, because yes. So what that also does in Australian Survivor is, since it is, teams, it's also putting early targets on people. So you have to be strategic there. Mm-hmm. Do I really want people to think that I'm really at this good at challenges come merge?
Yep.
So yeah, it's I think that this was maybe a play on that, but they just didn't execute it as good as it could have been.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. It had potential. I mean, you would think that after Survivor Fiji many, many moons ago, they would have learned that a twist like this was not the best. I mean, Michelle Yee, robbed Goddess, I'll talk about it till the cows come home, but this is giving very much shades of that episode. And I mean, They didn't do it very well then, and I don't think they did it well in this incarnation. But anyway, Franny ends up being the one to square off against Brandon. We knew Brandon was a force to be reckoned with physically, but I was very impressed with Franny being able to show that fortitude and that strength, and she ends up pulling out the win. And she has a little speech at the end where she says, it means a lot to me. And even though Survivor has become very friendly and warm and talking about our feelings and touchy-feely, I didn't mind this moment. I like Franny being proud. I like to see people proud of their accomplishments. Do you think, Todd, that Survivor has become too, woo-woo, nice, friendly?
Okay. Yes and no. I do really appreciate backstories, but I don't think that we need everybody's backstory to be a sob story, because not everybody's backstory is that way. Some people are out there to win $1 million, and, they have a successful life and they haven't had those hardships, but they're there to play. And so we don't need to see everybody's sob story in the background. So yes and no. What I do love about Franny's thing, though, is it was very Shakespearean. She was the very big winner, but she sent her lover to his death. Yeah. And it was pretty awesome. Terrible.
You can't write that stuff.
No.
Only if you're Shakespeare. While we're talking about the Franny win and, sending Matt ultimately to be the lead on the jury, what is obviously their strategy there to continue on to hold on to that poll? She knew that Matt was going to be was on the other team. That's her closest ally. Is there a way in which her dropping and letting Brandon win is actually better for her game in the long run? Or do we think that this is actually going to be the push that she needs to continue on to maybe end up win it all?
Oh, I think that it was the smartest decision to not drop, because it very easily could have turned on her as well. Because what I believe personally happened was, rather than just take Jam Jam out, they were an obvious duo, and they were split up. And so it's let's split the duo up right now, which is exactly what we did in Survivor China with Jamie and Eric. It wasn't a question of whether or not we liked them or we wanted to work with them. It was cut that off right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And I also think a great point that I saw is, yes, Matt is away, but also he's the mayor of Ponderosa, right? He is the first jury member. And that could maybe be in her benefit if she makes it to the very end. He has people's ear for the longest time, and maybe he could be that person to get the votes that she would need if she ends up getting to the end. Not that she wouldn't deserve them, but it doesn't hurt to have that good of a friend on the jury and be the first jury member.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I've never been a member of a jury, so I don't really know what.
No, you haven't.
But I can only imagine that it's they all talk about why you should vote this way and why you shouldn't vote that way. I don't know. It really frustrates me, because you can obviously tell in specific seasons where it's been discussed at Ponderosa, who's voting for who and why. You just have to put the puzzle pieces together at the end. That bothers me because it takes away from the game. However, it goes back into the strategy part at the beginning. You have to start making everybody like you, or at least respect your gameplay from day one. It's not something what really bothers me in any Survivor, both American or Australian or, whatever, is when people are I'm going to lie low and then bring out my moment in the merge. But it's no, because where were you for the first half of the game? I'm not going to respect that anywhere near as much as someone who is trying from the beginning, that type of thing. But yes, anyway, that went way off track down my little rabbit hole. But yes, it could work for her benefit if she makes it to the end, because she's got her little boyfriend on jury.
It's true. But you're right. It really depends on what the people value, and you would hope that people are looking at the whole game and not just valuing someone who kicks into third gear at the very end. But every jury is different, and I guess that's what makes Survivor magical and beautiful and the amazing thing that we love.
Yes.
And you know what else makes it the amazing thing that we love? Rewards. And no, it was a crappy reward: iced tea and peanut butter and jelly and chips. We're talking Survivor China. You go to the Great Wall of
Great Wall of
China,
China.
and meanwhile they're getting a peanut butter and jelly that's been sitting out in the sun for a few hours. I'm sorry. It's
the big question on everyone's mind is, which would you prefer, peanut butter and jelly or the Great Wall of China? It's a very hard toss-up.
That is a very no. Obviously, the Great Wall of China. Here's the thing, though. Okay, I craved peanut butter so badly while I was out there. So while we are watching, it's like, ew, I don't want that. Out there, I would have done anything for that sandwich. So, but the iced tea, gross. I don't want iced tea. Like, please.
At least it wasn't pizza, Fijian pizza. I've heard that's the worst.
I can only imagine. But yeah, I mean that's a weak sauce reward. Like, come on now. Like, all of China's were outrageously elaborate. I got to go to a 1,000-year-old city. I got to spend the night on the Great Wall of China. My sister got to come and sleep at my camp. You know, like, these things were crazy.
Yeah. When you set the bar that high, most everything is going to look rinky dinky, but this especially just looked like, you know, a Happy Meal prize. It was just just pales in comparison. But I mean, you know what? Godspeed. I bet they devoured that. And speaking of which, flash forward a little bit more, and I'm pretty sure Kane says something about, he calls himself something Sasquatch. I don't know exactly the verbiage, but he calls himself like a slobbering or a something Sasquatch. And I just cracked up because he was the one who was eating the peanut butter and jelly, and he said he could feel his stomach like sloshing from side to side when he was trying to look for the reward. And you know, Kane, I don't really understand a lot of your allusions and references, but I just really enjoy you as a person. Does anyone else feel that way?
I love Kane.
Yes. Are you kidding me? Like, he is the Survivor viewer. He's all of us. He's what, you know, and he's doing it. And I love that.
Absolutely. Oh man, there's nothing that I find worse in the whole world than eating food and then going to work out. Like, a lot of times I work out and I only have like a protein shake or something just because I hate I can feel it in my stomach. Imagine not eating for all of these days and then you're expected to just like run. You would have seen me throw up. Like, it would have been so bad. And when he said that, I was like, yes, I get it. You and we are connected.
We have all been sloppy Sasquatches at one point or another. So very vivid imagery. And before we get to all that goodness, the vote is seeming like immediately it's either going to be Matt or Jam Jam, because of the 5 people who were voting, 3 of them are from Old Ratu. So it seems very obvious that the 2 targets are Jam Jam and Matt. And Todd, obviously you were not very often in a position where your back was up against the wall and you really thought that you were going home, especially if you were as cocky as you say you were. But what do you do in those situations if it's like, it's you or me? What's your philosophy on that?
Okay, so anytime that my name was brought up and I knew that my name was being brought up, I had to plant seeds into other people's brains. So, for example, the reason why James didn't use his idol, because if he did use the idol, I would have gone home. And I knew that. So what I did beforehand was I went to James and I said, hey, I want my idol because I want to use it tonight because I heard from Eric that you're going to vote for me. He was like, what are you talking about? He then went and caused all this drama with Eric, got in a huge fight. I said to James, go ahead and keep the idol. I trust you. That way, he thought for sure we were voting for Eric, didn't use the idol, and we blindsided James. So you have to plant those seeds of doubt all over the place to make sure that you're safe.
Wow.
Masterful.
Well, I'm sorry, Matt. If you had listened to the Todd strategy, then you may still be here and enjoying your Fijian vacation with your girlfriend. But
all they had to do, literally Matt and Jam Jam had to find the weak link, which was Jamie, right? All they had to do was go to her and be like, look, here's what's up. You're at the bottom of this. They could have made up a lie. That's what I did. They could have said, we heard from so-and-so that you're at the bottom of this group right here. Let's be a 3 instead of a 5 and take one of them out instead. Easy.
That's very true.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Oh, the shoulda, coulda, wouldas. You know, do it all day. But at the end of the reward peanut butter and jelly section, the winning group has to open a note, and Franny opens the note, and it says that there's an advantage locked in the cage, the infamous cage, and there are keys scattered about the jungle, and only one can open it, and they have to try one at a time, and at the end it says go. Has there ever been a time in a Survivor, like, reward or a note or anything where it prompts you, like, you have to do it right now? Has that ever happened before, or have they had time to, like, plan?
Only when the final 5 advantage normally, where it's like solve this puzzle.
Yeah.
That one. I don't know. So okay, while the advantage one was like meh, I actually loved this.
Yes.
I
totally agree.
This. I was like, this looks like so much fun, and because I would have put way more keys out there if I was on production. I would have literally hid probably like 800. I thought it was hilarious, and you had to try one at a time. I loved that idea. I thought it was so cool. But then it was the steal a vote or like force someone's vote, which
yeah, that lots of messiness. And before we get into what the mechanics are of this, I just want to point out one of my favorite parts of this episode, where Heidi is the one to find it. She opens it up and she goes to give Franny a hug. And if you look, Franny is disgusted.
Franny is iconic for that moment. Literally, she's like, get away from me. I'm so mad that you have this.
Like, I'm not celebrating for you right now. I wanted that. Come on.
Which I totally get, right? Like, that's kind of how I would probably be.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I can't blame her, but I would just the whole moment was great. But yes, it's revealed that Heidi has a control a vote advantage, and she has to use it at this tribal. Talk about production meddling. This is like, I'd say this is up there with like HVH forced fire making levels of like, they wanted an outcome and they're going for it, and they're unabashedly showing you that this is what they want.
Okay, so this advantage, I feel like could have been fun and exciting if it was everybody voting and one person had immunity, and it was like not limited to those few people. Like, that's the only problem that I personally had with the whole situation, because it was like, wow, there's literally 4 people left, and one of them has 2 votes, and everybody knows this one person has 2 votes, so it's pretty obvious where it's probably gonna go. I don't know. So again, I feel like the ideas were there, they were just not executed very well.
I totally agree. I think this actually is kind of a fun twist on its own in the way, like, not used right now. Like, I kind of like the idea that she had to announce, hey, Lauren, I'm taking this from you, and you have to vote for Jam Jam. And so everybody knows that she wanted Lauren to vote for Jam Jam, which, again, goes back to the social aspect, which I think is let the players play. You know, this is like a twist, obviously. But, like, this way, it's like, does she even, you know, if you have to use it tonight, but would she even want to use it? Because then everyone knows who she's going for, you know? It has a little bit more level. But I think in conjunction with this, how it was, only 4 people were eligible to vote. There are only 5 people there are only 5 people that could vote, pardon me. So I feel like all of that just led it to be like a little weird. I heard a theory, Ryan, my boyfriend, told me a theory an idea where he was like, why didn't they just have Carson, who drew the gray rock, just be like, I'm sorry, you're not going to be safe. Don't give him a choice. And then have it at least be 6 people. Yeah. And then there's like a little bit more agency in that. And like, there's just one other like clog in the wheel, like one other thing. And I think that maybe it would have felt a little better. But I think like used in a different way, it's kind of fun because it's not just the same exact thing that we've seen. You know, you had to say it out loud. she had to say, vote for Jam Jam. She had to say, so everyone knew about it. And there could be some major repercussions for her later, you know?
Absolutely. Which I feel like she, she was all talk about what she was going to do before. And then she went the safe route because Jam Jam was the obvious bottom of the barrel because he was that vote last time. And it's like, okay, we all know why she did. So this advantage basically just went to waste. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I mean, it would have been a whole lot cooler if there were more people involved, if it wasn't forced to be right then and there. But I loved how she did have to say a name.
Yeah.
So.
Definitely. And I think it definitely stirred some interesting conversations on the beach of the safe individuals. And Heidi was exploring all of her options and not afraid to say to Franny, for example, yeah, I want to protect both guys. And then it was like, well, I don't really know if I can protect Matt anymore. And we saw Franny's face change just like it did before when she tried to give her a hug. She was not happy. But on a lighter note, we did get a wonderful, heartwarming clip package of all of the wonderful moments of the Franny and Matt relationship. When have we seen a clip package like that? I can't remember a time we've seen something adorable like that, but
I don't know, but a lot of the editing of the new wave I do really appreciate because I think it's very dry and witty in a lot of ways, and I'm a very dry and witty person. Mm-hmm. And but I feel like, Matt and Franny they're perfect for each other. So like the editing, whether it be, forced or just like for fun, I'm really happy with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was adorable.
It was so cute. And I was just like, there was a moment in the beginning of the episode where I kind of felt in my gut that this was Matt's time. And then this kind of happened and I went, oh no. Like, I just was like, oh gosh. And then there was like a slight moment where I thought it could be Jam Jam at Tribal Council, but like, I don't know. I do think it was maybe the right move to get rid of Matt. Not because I don't think that like he did have, like, you heard them all on the Winter's Beach. They all were like, so we got to figure out a way to protect Matt, right? It wasn't just Franny. Like Danny said it too. Like everyone was saying this. So he obviously had a lot of friends. And so I do think that Heidi's instinct to like, maybe I don't want him here, it was right. I don't know. I don't think it was executed in the correct way, obviously, but like, that when your social bonds are so obvious, I feel like, it kind of can put you in a hard spot.
100%. It was the right move, in my opinion. Break up that duo. I mean, as much I liked him, I thought he was great. He was fun. But as far as game wise goes, it was smart.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. So we get to Tribal, and as you alluded to before, Tegwith, Matt was all about his bag, the bag. There were many things that Matt was bringing to this Tribal. He wanted to bring his bag. He brought a papaya. He brought his willingness to open up about all of his traumas to Jeff, which, magical, good for you. Tegwith, walk us through this whole bag debacle and just the look on the jury, or not the jury, the quote-unquote jury's face.
The bag is, I honestly think it's a very interesting insight for like fans to kind of see how important things are. Like, you're not like, obviously if there's a swap or whatever and your idol you have a hidden idol and it's buried somewhere, they'll maybe help you with that. But the fact that he obviously didn't take his bag. He didn't have his shot in the dark, which last week I thought it was just a thing, but it's like a thing that you actually have, which I forgot. And then also his fake idol that he was probably sure was fake, but like not really sure. So there's like a little inkling that in his brain, maybe it could have been real. And, just like the fact that he was kind of this sitting duck almost, where everyone knew that he didn't have his bag because he was probably talking about it a fair amount. And, he didn't have the things that he needed to protect himself. Like, what if he had played his shot in the dark tonight? Because he felt like it was going to be him. And if he was going to vote for Jam Jam anyway, like, what if he did that and he was safe? We will never know if that actually happened. I really did actually think that Franny was going to bring his bag because I was very lucky. I got to go to Ron Clark had a party in Atlanta, viewing party for Survivor, and it was very interesting because Lauren Ashley Beck was there, and she was talking about how, I forget the exact moment, but in her season somebody lost their bag or didn't have their bag, and she was talking about how like that was almost a target on that person's back, because we all knew that that's just a little slight difference to them, and Todd, this, people keep important things in bags.
Yes.
So
it's actually, I guess, like you saying that, I never really thought about it from a viewer's point of view. If you watch, we took our bags everywhere. So like if you go on a reward challenge, or if you go to tribal council, or if you do anything, you take your bag with you. You take as much with you everywhere that you go, because of stuff like this. I hated bringing my bag anywhere, so I honestly never brought it anywhere. I was only concerned about my canteen, and that just goes to show like my overly cockiness as well, because I was like, I'm not going home. I don't need my stuff. And so when people did go home and leave their bags at camp, like it literally just stays, So yeah, if you don't bring it, you don't get it, and you're screwed. So you have to take. Same with your water bottle. Like if you break your water, ours were glass. Okay, our water bottles were glass, and so like if it broke, you just had to start sharing with someone else. That's just how it is.
Jeez.
Just
Well,
cookie crumbles.
Seriously. And as for how the cookie crumbled and during the episode, unfortunately, it did not matter what Heidi said, because even though Jam Jam was definitely getting a guaranteed vote, it still ended up being Matt. It was 3-2 Matt, and that is the end of Matt's Survivor story as for now. How do we feel about that?
Sad to see him go. He was hilarious. He was a great player. His expressions, he was always smiling. I mean, he would be talking about his painful past, and he'd be laughing and smiling like, ah. And it's like, oh my gosh, you're the most friendly person on the planet, apparently. But I think he'll be a wonderful, welcoming jury member. Mm-hmm. So that's good. And then maybe he learned a lesson that when you're playing games, to leave love behind.
Mm-hmm.
That's true. Maybe
Absolutely.
He'll be super calculated now. Who knows? Whatever happens in the future, Matt, I hope that you still smile, because that is
yes.
That tribal council though was very emotional, because not only did Matt have a little bit of like, his emotion, he had an emotional speech. Jam Jam also had an emotional speech. And I also am just like, when did Jeff Probst become a licensed therapist? Since when did he start pulling things out of his bag by saying, you're deflecting with humor, Jam Jam, like blah, 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 blah.
He turned 60, okay? Like he got old, and then he got feelings because he was in China. He didn't care. He was very rude. Like he was not like that in China. Now he's like your caring grandfather.
He is. I need somebody to add to the sassy Jeff Probst compilation on YouTube, but there's not been much material until this season with Claire is the most recent sassiness we've gotten from Jeff.
Yeah.
Yes.
We're not really getting a lot in terms of Jeff Sass. It almost reminds me, for you Drag Race viewers out there, how RuPaul all of a sudden has been super maternal and like trying to, give people hugs and tell them about their inner saboteur and all this psychoanalytic stuff that you just don't expect from a competitive reality TV show. But you know what? Maybe Jeff and RuPaul are kindred spirits, because I see a lot of parallels. It's quite shocking, actually.
But honestly, it reminds me of my dad, because my dad was very strict and straightforward, but now like he'll cry at commercials, and like he's so like he's like this like happy jolly man now, and I'm like, when did this happen? And so I'm like just kind of waiting for the day that happens to me, because I'm not like that.
Wow.
Sorry, go ahead, David.
No, I was just gonna say, life does that to you.
It does. I just want to say, this is something that I just remembered. I can we just give a moment for the papaya? I know we kind of brought that up, but like the papaya, I think was like maybe the star of the full episode. That was the funniest bit. I laughed way too hard. Like, do you want this egg in the trying time? Like the Always Sunny reference. Amazing. And then didn't they like zoom in onto the papaya when they were like, does anybody want an advantage or whatever? Iconic editing. Like, say what you will about the twists and the turns and all this stuff. They hired the right editors for this show because they do so well. It's so funny.
They sure did. And honestly, the fact that they hid an idol or something in a fish on season 42 makes me believe that they could put something in a papaya if they really wanted to. So
yeah. If there's a will, there's a way.
Seriously. But, you know, Todd, you just reminded me when you were talking about your dad crying about the commercials. We've got a great one coming up for you right now. It will not make you cry, maybe make you cry tears of joy, but we'll be right back after this ad read.
Hi, Survivor Now podcast listeners. I am Katie from KT Designs, better known as Katie Tedesco Art on both Instagram and Etsy. I have been designing and selling Survivor products for over 7 years at my Etsy shop, including replicas like hidden immunity idols and Survivor trading cards with all of the players' stats on the back. I am so grateful for Survivor Now for giving me this shout out and helping me reach even more super fans. I love listening to their podcast. So if you are looking for some really unique reality TV products for yourself or to give a super fan in your life, come check out my Etsy shop at www.etsy.com/shop/KatieTedescoArt.com.
Awesome. Welcome back, everyone. And it's so good that we're all dressed so snazzy and we're looking so good because it's award season. It is time for us to award the Social Butterfly Award as well as the driver of the Social Struggle Bus Award. Todd, because you are our guest, I'm going to open the floor to you. Is there anyone that you immediately would like to nominate for the Social Butterfly Award this week?
Social Butterfly Award. I have to nominate Jam Jam because you cannot go from the bottom every week to still being around without being a social butterfly.
Excellent.
Absolutely. I second that. I definitely agree. I think, you know, they obviously wanted to keep him for a reason. I think he'll do great things down the line, and I think he's really good at diffusing situations. You know, he says it straight. He goes, this is awkward, and it's kind of funny, and he gets to the point, and I think his social game is really interesting, and so I do think that I'm also going to give it to Jam Jam.
Awesome. I can't argue with any of that. There's very much on point, and I'm going to echo that. Jam Jam, congratulations. You won the Social Butterfly Award this week, and something tells me this will not be the last time because you are just an effervescent monarch just flying through Fiji and into our hearts. And now we're going to move on to the part where we throw someone under the bus. Just kidding. You get to drive the bus. Todd, is there anyone that you think is deserving just this week? It's not forever necessarily. You're just putting on the hat for this week for the driver of the Social Struggle Bus Award.
Oh yeah. Okay. So, well, Heidi obviously was socially struggling. You read the room, okay? You don't hug your competitor when you just beat them, and you don't tell the one person who loves the person you're targeting, like, I don't think he can be saved tonight. Like, that was socially struggling. That was bad. It was not good. I know she's Puerto Rican and she just says it, and that's wonderful and I love it, but sometimes you have to read a room because people don't appreciate that. There you go. So Heidi.
I was going to go with Brandon today, but I think you've changed my mind, and I think I'm going to second that and go with Heidi, because I was going to go with Brandon mainly because I just felt like he didn't really do much socially this week. I felt like he just kind of was stagnant. And I think this time in the game, you know, you're right in the merge. I think stagnant isn't a very good thing, but I do think you're right. I think she's going to have a lot of work she has to rebuild. I think after, you know, throwing Jam Jam's name out and it not working, she kind of made Franny upset a little bit, of not once, but twice. And so I think that's a very good call. And I think I'm going to have to go with Heidi as well.
Yeah, I'm going to have to agree as well. I mean, part of me thinks Heidi didn't really have as much choice in this as she would have if she knew the advantage that she was, getting herself into, but she still had to make the decision. She still was making those choices in the moment. Maybe it would have been different if it wasn't a decision that she had to make for this tribal in particular. I think the fact that there was more of an exigency and a pressure that she had to decide right that night, maybe it was clouding her judgment and making her act under pressure in ways that she normally wouldn't. But unfortunately, that's the game of Survivor. You have to adapt and you have to be ready to roll with the punches. So unfortunately, I will have to agree and echo what has been said. And Heidi, you are the driver of the Survivor Social struggle bus just for this week, but you've still got time to turn it around. Anything is possible. So now that we've concluded with the award section of this evening, I would like to open the floor to some questions, and I'm ready to ask some questions if you are, Todd, if you're ready to answer them.
Let's do it. I'm so ready.
Heck yeah. All right. So first, we've got a question. We've got a question that just popped up on our stream from Enmorces. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly. Who do you think is winning this season? We're going to have to ask Todd that first because clearly we're not qualified, Tegwith.
No, absolutely not.
No.
Okay. So it's very tricky because, early episodes I would have said Danny, but then he really screwed himself over when he was so obvious with Brandon at the end and Carolyn, and literally acted like Carolyn was not there, right? Carolyn is so much smarter than her teammates are allowing or believing that she is. She's taking all of this information in, and she's telling the right people. So I feel like we're going to see Carolyn go far here. I feel like Carson is going to go far as well. However, I do not think he's going to win because he is doing too much up here instead of out here. So he's playing too many sides. So that's bad news, Bears. Franny is right now in a very good position, but after last night, she may come back with a vengeance. And I feel like that could totally flip things around. Nobody in their right mind is going to keep Brandon around for much longer because he's a beast. So there's that. And then Heidi and Lauren, I don't really know their game at all right now. So I can't even put them as contenders. So I would say that Kane and Jam Jam would be my top two best positioned people right now to win this game.
All right.
Good choices. That. Yeah.
I agree. We have a question from our TikTok live right now. And it's more of a logistical question. So this is an interesting one. So Colin with like 45 ends asks, do you all think someone could get Matt's shot in the dark from his bag and just have a second one? Because we've established the bag is still at the beach. His shot in the dark is in the bag. Can someone use that? Or is it null and void when he got voted out?
Okay, so that's a really good question because the rules are... So, okay, I don't think so, because if that were the case, I feel like we would have seen people in the past handing their little dice thing to their friends, saying like, here, take this, once they were like leaving. So I think it's probably gone. But then again, I don't know. I mean, if I found it in his bag and tried it out, I mean, why not try it? If someone finds it and takes it to tribal council and tries it, I say go for it. You know what I mean? But you're also risking putting a target on your back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel like it's one of those things where if you're dressed somewhere that you're not supposed to be, but you're dressed in a convincing way and you hold yourself in a convincing way and it serves the purpose of the Survivor storylines, then Jeff will allow it. I feel like if you just roll with it and it makes for a really good moment and you somehow play like 7 shots in the dark at the same time and they're just shot by shot by shot by shot by shot and you make a moment, I think they're going to leave it in and they're going to let it happen. So I say screw it. Just do it if you can.
like, why not try? You got to try. You won't know unless you try, type of thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think we have another
And
question on the screen.
yeah, we do. We have one from EJ Plays, and it says not necessarily a question, but I'd love to hear y'all's thoughts on Heidi having to announce to everyone who she wanted Lauren to vote for. Yeah, that definitely puts someone in a hot pickle, as Parvati would say, to have to do that.
I love it. I thought it was great because of the fact that it's like, okay, well, you win the reward, but it's kind of like sweet and sour. You know, you get the awesome advantage, but it also comes with a penalty. Like, I think that's kind of fun, because now she's going to have to totally scramble to fix her situation that she's gotten herself into.
Absolutely. Very
Yeah, I
sticky.
totally agree. Yeah, she's gonna have to do a lot of heavy lifting back at camp to justify. I mean, Jam Jam is really good at like moving forward, but being like it's different for people to vote you, but it's another thing for somebody to say you have to vote for this person. Like that's I feel like a whole different story. You know, I think she probably pissed off Carolyn. She probably, you know, made obviously Jam Jam mad. So I think that she's gonna have to do some heavy lifting to fix what happened.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think she'll be able to. I
I
think
guess.
she's trouble.
Yeah, unfortunately, I'd have to agree. Our next question comes to us from Dan Co. I'm not sure. Dan Co? Who knows? He said, "Do you believe someone could replicate your style of play, Todd, and still win in this new era?"
So I guess my style of playing was very social. And so I feel like if you're a social person and you played the same way as me, because like for me, I knew what everybody was doing and talking about. That was my goal, was to make sure that I was in everybody's business without being like super irritating about it. So yeah, I don't see why not. I mean, and an alliance will never hurt, you know?
True.
Yeah. But if I were to go play again, I couldn't play the same way because people have seen my game. So I'd have to do something completely different. I mean, it's all about adapting, because you cannot change what just happened. You have to basically take it, think about it, and then act.
Yeah.
And if you overreact, then you're just going to make a mess for yourself.
That's true.
And I have a question that was from Instagram, actually, from Yes Sir Ice Queen, who's Ian, who's a great friend of the pod. And it kind of has to go with this. So he asked Todd, you aligned with Amanda and Courtney early in the game, becoming close friends and sat in the final three with them. Why do you think players nowadays are afraid to sit next to their closest allies at Final Tribal Council?
Okay. Probably because it's tricky, because like if you looked at what's his face, Cody and Jesse, right? Mm-hmm. So they were a pair, but one of them was playing more than the other. So if, you know, I've talked to Sammy, and Sammy has said like he had no idea that Jesse was doing all of that stuff. So it was very quiet. He thought Cody was. And so it's like, if you're going to go to the end with your friends, you have to be able to tell the story as to why you've played better than your friends. Mm-hmm. But that's also a risk in really hurting that friendship, right? So for me, I convinced Amanda. I was like, they all hate me, but they love you. Because I knew that she was good at challenges and I was not. And so she would be the one to like have to take me there. And so if I put in their mind, like, okay, I'm not going to win, but I'd like to get as far as I could, then, you know, in my mind, I also knew, I was like, please, I've totally got this over Amanda. It's so sad. So, like I said, I don't know why I was so cocky or confident.
It worked.
But like I was way too overly cocky and confident. Like even watching when my season was airing, I had no idea Amanda threw my name out at all. So that's when I was like, Todd, you need to calm down. Like that was a little bit too comfortable. So yeah. But I feel like going to the end with your friends, someone's gonna lose and someone's gonna hurt.
Sure. You got to know that going into it. You know, you just got to keep that in the back of your mind. You're in it to win it. Obviously, you did. So, but speaking of runners up, Once Upon an Island, love your content. Asks, do you know what the Amanda Kimmel is up to? How is
So,
she?
Amanda, I haven't talked to her in a very long time, unfortunately. So last that I did talk to her, she is back in Montana. She owns a little boutique. She's married and has, I think, 2 kids.
Aw,
That's
Yeah.
amazing.
that is amazing.
Good for her.
Yeah. So
Once Upon an Island also has another question.
would I play on a returning season if they asked? Yes, I would.
What format would you like
That's
best?
the best news I've ever heard.
Oh, I would. I mean, I have been asked a few times. I've always said yes, but I've never made it all the way. So, if I were to go play again, I would definitely say yes. So, if it was what format, I think it would be really cool to do like a winners versus runners up season, because like those runner ups are like out for blood,
That would be really cool.
and then the winners are determined to like keep their spot. So like I feel like that would be a vicious season. But it would be fun. I'd play any of them though, like Blood versus Water, Fans versus I mean, whatever. It'd be fun. Why not? You know, even if I was the first one gone, like if I were to say no, I would live my whole life wondering what if.
Yeah.
So, but if I don't if I don't ever go back, I'm also cool with that because I've played once, I won once, and that was
Yeah,
pretty awesome.
I mean, can't be mad with a win rate or a success rate of 100%.
Yeah.
So
Can't be mad at that.
all right, do we have it in ourselves for one last question?
Yeah.
Awesome. So Mikey Pow asks, Todd, you flew from camp and slept at the, and I quote, Great Wall of fucking China for a reward challenge. Now, current Survivor players go to a beach 2 minutes away and eat pineapple when they win a reward. Explain your epic reward challenge experiences.
Okay. Like our reward challenges were amazing. So, which also, by the way, I'm going to say this right now. When they aired the Great Wall of China thing, it made it seem like we were ungrateful. I was in awe. My dream, my hashtag bucket list is to see all 7 wonders of the world. So I was like over the moon. However, they made it look like we were not grateful. I was very grateful. So that's there. But, okay, we got in a helicopter. We flew to an airport in the helicopter, got in a private jet, flew somewhere else in the country. Then we got in a van. This is the part that they didn't show on TV, right? So we were in the van and they had one CD and it was Millennium by the Backstreet Boys. So for 4.5 hours, me, Courtney, and Denise sang Backstreet Boys on repeat for 4.5 hours as we drove to the Great Wall of China.
That's amazing.
Like it was so good. Then once we were there, I mean, the place was empty. So like CBS had literally paid to rent the Great Wall of China, which is wild. So there was nobody around except for us. We got to go on this whole tour where like this guide would take us around and show us everything. And then of course, when we got to our little area where we had the hot pot and the cots, unbelievable. So like we sat there on the edge, like our legs dangling over the Great Wall of China while the sun set. I mean, how cool is that? And then we woke up before the sun and we sat and drank coffee while watching the sunrise over Mongolia. Like that, it was just unbelievable. You cannot pay for something like that, you know,
No.
like it was just wild.
Yeah, I think that's the one. So I don't know if while there was a technical difficulty, I was talking about how, so your season is the first season that I watched and your win like solidified my obsession with Survivor. So I actually blame you for all of this, like the podcasting and the TikToking, that's on you. So, you know, deal with that what you will. But that reward is something, watching that, I watched it in 2018. I didn't watch it live. I was rewatching it. Or watching it for the first time in 2018, I like had tears in my eyes because it was just so incredibly beautiful. I didn't even know that humans on this earth ever experienced something like that. And like the fact that you did is just, it was so incredible just to like even watch it from like a viewer's perspective, like however many years later, I was like, I didn't even know that was a possibility that people could do that.
No, honestly, like, so, you know, the Great Wall of China, you hear about it and whatnot, but in this van ride while we're driving, you could see it like in the distance. And we drove for 4.5 hours and you could just see it everywhere you looked. It was all over the place. It was just such a crazy thing to witness. But then once we were there, that was when it was crazy. Because I mean, people go visit it and you see pictures and there's people everywhere. But it was just us. And it was incredible. I mean, another really cool one, and a lot of people don't really give it much credit, was earlier on in the season where me, Jean-Robert, James, and Amanda got to go to 1,000-year-old ancient city. This city was like insane. It was like all stone, and it was old, like super old. Well, while we were eating, they opened up the walls, which was crazy, and we got to watch a performance of a Chinese opera. So in the opening credits of Survivor China, where you see like the people dancing around, that was what we were watching, but you didn't see it on TV. So it was like this private show in the middle of an ancient city in China. It was crazy. Very cool.
Wow.
That is incredible. It must have felt like an out-of-body experience almost, just like being like around history.
Yeah. Oh, it was. I mean, because I love ancient history, and so like being in China and experiencing these things was insane. Even the temple on the very first episode. I mean, we were there forever. We were there for hours and hours and hours. We walked all through this temple, and like back then, I wish I would have appreciated that temple a little bit more, because I look at it now and I'm like, wow, people don't get to do that, you know? So it was that was crazy. All of it.
You know what? Insane. And the good part is, at least you weren't the person who ran out of said temple. We love you, Leslie. But at least you weren't, you wish you were more grateful, but you weren't Leslie levels of running.
You know what's crazy is like I vividly remember looking up at the wall of Buddhas, and like they had been there for so long, like there were like cobwebs. Like I can see the cobwebs still to this day in my memory. It's like there were hundreds and hundreds of Buddhas in this wall of Buddha, and they were all gold, like made of gold. It was crazy.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Well, and now we're in Fiji. Anyway, Todd, thank you so much for joining us. It has been an absolute pleasure to have you. Todd, before we let you go, where can we find you going forward? If someone wants to get a custom Funko Pop, how do they do that?
Yes, I would be happy to make you custom Funko Pops. Like, look, here's Simon from Australian Survivor. I'm finishing him up right now.
I love that.
So yeah, I'll make anybody anything you want. Just reach out to me on Instagram at Todd's Pop Shop, or send me an email, toddspopshop@gmail.com, and send me pictures. I'll price it out and make you miniature whoever you want.
Incredible. Awesome. Thank you so much, Todd. And make sure to like and subscribe to Survivor Now on YouTube and Spotify. And we would absolutely love to have even more dialogue with you after this. So please, again, send us a message at survivorsocialpod@gmail.com, and we'll read them here. Thank you again, Todd. And thank you all for listening. And we will catch up with you next week, our Survivor Socialites, next week here on Survivor Social. Thank you so much, everyone.